Hey everyone. Excellent job on integrating feedback. A lot of you have significantly improved in your APA citations, and that was noticeable in your discussion board article reviews. A lot of you really the last couple weeks have been able to integrate the APA and academic writing feedback, and it's really shown in y'all's grades. So excellent job. Bear in mind that hardly anybody, if anybody, gets a perfect score or near perfect score on treatment plans, assessments, and SOAP notes. For most of you, even if you've practiced this skill in the field, it's not a skill that is as heavily honed. And frankly, I find that the internships and actually practicing those skills on the job with your supervision after you graduate is what helped me the most. I really benefited a lot from taking what I learned in the classroom and then practicing, and then seeking supervision and determining, how do I tweak this? How do I change that? And then every time you change jobs or roles, your assessment skills have to get re-honed. So for instance, assessments that I was doing at my last job as an insurance care coordinator were 60 minutes or less, no matter what. Inpatient, social work, similar. In home health, my assessments, depending on the population or the folks that I'm working with and what their needs are anywhere from 60 to 90 minutes. If it's less than 60 minutes, it's usually because it's a very well-resourced patient or family in a well-resourced area of St. Louis compared to like inner city St. Louis, where folks maybe have higher needs because of living in low-income areas and things of that nature. So the other thing I really wanted to discuss with y'all this week is the topic that is most important to me in social work, and that is self-care. As social workers, we often work in industries and at agencies who do not value self-care or don't prioritize it. I know that the medical system really doesn't. We talk about it all the time. However, it's usually my indirect role as the social worker to remind folks about self-care. At the agency I worked for last, work-life balance was phenomenal. At the agency I currently work at, I could easily work 12 hours a day, and that would be praised as opposed to maybe a topic of supervision. At my last job, my supervisor would say, Katie, there's no way that you can sustain working 12 hours a day. At my current job, they may say, thank you so much for serving our patients in the way that you do. That is not healthy. The other thing that is happening at my current job is lots of folks work on their days off. Don't do that. Do not work for free, first of all. Second of all, don't run yourself into the ground like that. I totally did run myself into the ground like that for many years. Unfortunately, most of us have to get through grad school. Most social workers do not enter social work grad school directly from undergrad. They're usually working full time. A lot of them have families, and a lot of them have internship hours. So for instance, when I was in grad school the second time around, when I was getting my MSW, during those 2 rotational periods of 9 to 10 month internship, I worked 4 10s at my job and then had 2 8-hour shifts, a total of 16 additional hours on top of 40. So I was working 56 hours a week. And then all day, 1 day a week, I did my coursework. That is not a structure that is conducive to self-care. And unfortunately, that is the institution of education. So even within social work, we are essentially forced in some situations to engage in structures for our learning and survival. Like we all got to eat, we all got to pay rent while we're going to grad school. That are not conducive to self-care. When I was in grad school the second time, I think I gained 20 pounds. I was sick more often than I ever had been before because my immune system tanked. And I was not able to access the self-care and coping skills that I know work best for me, i.e. therapy and working out and spending time in nature. Those 3 things, if I am lacking those 3 things, I'm just straight up not a good clinician, y'all. I feel this in my practice, in my mood, in my life, and it's really important to be insightful about that. We have all heard or seen in the media the tired trope of the very disillusioned social worker. They're normally old, female, overweight, unhealthy, and disgruntled and mean. I'm sure that you all have heard that trope before or seen that depiction of a social worker in some type of a media. And I can tell you that I have encountered those social workers in the field, folks who have been practicing for 30 plus years or less in oppressive structures at agencies with no work-life balance, and they may even be lacking social work supervision and be operating outside the updated code of ethics because of that lack of structure and supervision built into the agencies that we sometimes work for. Now, before I moved into the medical system and I was in behavioral health, some of these things were less pertinent. Like I did have high caseloads and high-paced work environments, but I wasn't working for agencies that praised you if you worked outside your salaried hours or outside your scheduled hours. I find that to be pretty problematic. So I do everything that I can to work in self-care, particularly because I know that right now the agency I work for doesn't value it. So if I don't set my own boundaries and make time to take care of myself, I could easily slip into a pattern where I'm working 12 hours a day at my day job and then teaching on the side and probably not being a good partner, not being a good parent, co-parent. So there has to be some level of balance. For me, yoga, mindfulness, working out, nature, that's not going to be everybody's coping skills toolbox. And sometimes work-life balance means coming home, not making dinner, eating a delicious burrito, watching your favorite TV show, and going to bed at 8 p.m. Sometimes that's self-care, and that's okay. Sometimes engaging in a little bit of vice here and there is part of self-care. Going out with friends, dancing. Dancing is excellent self-care. I am not a good dancer. Do I go and listen to awesome music and flail my body around with my friends because it feels good? Absolutely. Am I a good singer? No. Do I belt out in the car when I'm all alone because it feels good, the vibration in my chest? Absolutely. So work in the things that make you feel good. If you're embarrassed to do those things, like singing and dancing in front of others, do it by yourself. One of my other coping skills that I really love to do is listen to my favorite podcasts and or my favorite music, dance around my kitchen, and make a bunch of food. That is part of my self-care because if I'm eating healthy and I meal prep on a weekend day, then I have good meals all throughout the week, and I work out of people's homes and in my cars. Or in my car. So if I don't have meal prep on a Saturday or a Sunday to get me through the week, then I'm significantly more prone to eat like a gas station lunch, which is not good, or not eat, which could be even worse. So I have found ways to structure my life around self-care, and I highly recommend that you all do the same. Think about what works for your life and what doesn't. I know some folks, their self-care is actually coming home at the end of every day, and they like to cook meals for themselves on that day. I am so spent at the end of the day, emotionally, empathetically, and from all of that energy output that I sometimes don't have the energy output at the end of a 10-hour day social working in people's homes to make a good meal. So again, I'd be much more prone to either eat crap food or not eat enough. So think about your patterns. What coping skills do you use, or what routines work best for you? And really, really challenge yourself to do those things. If you do not do those things, you might run the risk of not being a great clinician. So prioritize it, keep it prioritized, maintain, take care of yourselves, and treat yourselves when you need to treat yourselves. I am definitely on the verge of needing to go out on a very long hike in the woods all by myself. And spring, we're in what we call fool's spring in the Midwest. We get a warm front that comes in and it feels like spring. It was 70 degrees yesterday, although we had thunderstorms and tornadoes, but spring is going to come, and then in 2 days it's going to be winter again, and then March will bring us the real spring of the Midwest. So I'm enjoying this full spring that we're in right now. The birds are chirping. It is not frigidly cold outside, and it's nice, and it smells like spring. That petrichor, that scent that you get from the earth when it rains. That's also one of my favorite things. And that is one of the reasons that going out into nature and enjoying different weather really grounds me. So if you've never tried it before, go out into the woods, touch a tree, have fun. And welcome to the last week of class. If you all need anything from me, I am an email away. I have really enjoyed working with y'all and learning with you this semester. And take care of yourselves, take care of yourselves, take care of yourselves.